On February 27, 425, Emperor Theodosius II, influenced by his wife Aelia Eudocia, established the University of Constantinople, also known as the Pandidoctarion. The institution began with 31 chairs, 15 for Latin and 16 for Greek studies, covering subjects such as law, philosophy, medicine, arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, music, and rhetoric. This establishment aimed to promote higher education and scholarly pursuits within the Byzantine Empire. The university played a significant role in preserving and transmitting classical knowledge throughout the medieval period. On February 27, 1560, the Treaty of Berwick was signed between Queen Elizabeth I of England and the Scottish Lords of the Congregation. The agreement permitted English military support to assist the Scottish nobles in expelling French troops stationed in Scotland under the regency of Mary of Guise. This alliance was pivotal in advancing the Scottish Reformation and reducing French influence in Scottish affairs. In 1617, Sweden and the Tsardom of Russia concluded the Treaty of Stolbovo, ending the Ingrian War. The treaty resulted in significant territorial adjustments, with Russia ceding the provinces of Ingria and Kexholm to Sweden. Notably, the agreement effectively excluded Russia from access to the Baltic Sea, shaping the regional power dynamics for years to come. In 1626, following a significant military victory against the Manchu leader Nurhaci, Yuan Changwan was appointed as the governor of Liaodong by the Ming dynasty. His leadership was instrumental in strengthening the northeastern defenses of China during a period of intensified conflict with the emerging Qing forces. On February 27, 1776, during the American Revolutionary War, Patriot forces achieved a decisive victory against Loyalist militia at the Battle of Moores Creek Bridge in North Carolina. The confrontation effectively ended British authority in the region and boosted support for the revolutionary cause in the southern colonies. On February 27, 1809, during the Napoleonic Wars, Captain Bernard de Bourdieu of the French Navy captured the British frigate HMS Proserpine near Toulon. This engagement highlighted the ongoing naval conflicts between France and Britain during this period. On February 27, 1812, during the Argentine War of Independence, General Manuel Belgrano raised the flag of Argentina for the first time in the city of Rosario. This act symbolized the burgeoning sense of national identity and the quest for independence from Spanish colonial rule. On February 27, 1844, the Dominican Republic declared its independence from Haiti. The successful revolt ended a 22-year period of Haitian occupation and led to the establishment of the Dominican Republic as a sovereign nation. On February 27, 1864, during the American Civil War, the first group of Union prisoners arrived at the Confederate prison camp in Andersonville, Georgia. The facility, officially known as Camp Sumter, became notorious for its overcrowded and harsh conditions, leading to significant mortality among the inmates. On February 27, 1870, the Japanese government officially adopted the Hinamaru, a red circle on a white field, as the national flag for merchant ships. This design, symbolizing the sun, has been associated with Japan for centuries and was later designated as the national flag for all purposes in 1999. On February 27, 1881, during the First Boer War, the Battle of Majuba Hill took place in South Africa. Boer forces achieved a decisive victory against British troops, leading to the end of the war and the recognition of the South African Republic's independence. On February 27, 1900, during the Second Boer War, British forces received an unconditional surrender from Boer General Piet Cronje at the Battle of Paardeberg in South Africa. This marked a significant turning point in the war in favor of the British. On February 27, 1900, the British Labour Party was established, aiming to represent the interests of the working class in Parliament. Over time, it became one of the United Kingdom's major political parties. On February 27, 1900, Fußball Club Bayern München, commonly known as FC Bayern Munich, was founded in Germany. The club has since become one of the most successful football teams in the world. On February 27, 1902, during the Second Boer War, Australian soldiers Harry Breaker Morant and Peter Hancock were executed in Pretoria after being convicted of war crimes. Their trial and execution remain controversial and have been the subject of extensive debate and analysis. On February 27, 1921, the International Working Union of Socialist Parties was established in Vienna, aiming to unite various socialist groups. It served as a precursor to later international socialist organizations. On February 27, 1922, the U.S. Supreme Court, in Lesser v. Garnett, upheld the 19th Amendment, affirming women's constitutional right to vote. This decision reinforced the amendment's validity against legal challenges. On February 27, 1933, the German parliament building, the Reichstag, was set on fire. The Nazis used this event to justify the suspension of civil liberties and the arrest of political opponents, consolidating their power in Germany. On February 27, 1939, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in NLRB versus Fansteel Metallurgical Corp. that the National Labor Relations Board lacked the authority to require employers to reinstate workers who had engaged in sit-down strikes, impacting labor relations and strike tactics. On February 27, 1940, Martin Kamen and Sam Rubin at the University of California, Berkeley, discovered the radioactive isotope carbon-14. This discovery later became fundamental in the development of radiocarbon dating techniques used in archaeology and other fields. On February 27, 1942, during World War II, Allied naval forces comprising American, British, Dutch, and Australian ships engaged a Japanese task force in the Java Sea in an effort to prevent the Japanese invasion of Java in the Dutch East Indies. The Allied fleet, under the command of Dutch Rear Admiral Karel Doorman, consisted of 2 heavy cruisers, 3 light cruisers, and 9 destroyers. They faced a superior Japanese force with better-equipped ships and air support. The battle resulted in a disastrous defeat for the Allies, with the loss of 5 ships, including the Dutch cruisers HNLMS De Ruyter and HNLMS Java, and the British destroyers HMS Electra and HMS Jupiter. This defeat allowed Japanese forces to commence their invasion of Java the following day. On February 27, 1943, the Gestapo arrested approximately 1,800 Jewish men in Berlin who were married to non-Jewish German women, detaining them at a facility on Rosenstrasse, Rose Street. In response, their non-Jewish wives and relatives initiated a nonviolent protest outside the detention center, demanding the release of their loved ones. The demonstration, which lasted from February 27 to March 6, 1943, grew to include up to 6,000 protesters. Despite the oppressive nature of the Nazi regime, the persistent and peaceful nature of the protest led to the release of the detained men. The Rosenstrasse protest is notable as a rare example of successful public dissent against Nazi policies during the Holocaust. On February 27, 1951, the 22nd Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified. This amendment limits U.S. presidents to 2 terms in office, or a maximum of 10 years if they assume the presidency via succession mid-term. The amendment was a response to President Franklin D. Roosevelt's 4-term presidency, aiming to formalize the traditional 2-term limit and prevent any future president from holding office for an extended period. On February 27, 1964, the Italian government formally requested international assistance to prevent the Leaning Tower of Pisa from collapsing. Concerns had grown over the tower's increasing tilt, which posed a significant risk to its structural integrity. This appeal led to a series of studies and restoration efforts over the following decades, culminating in successful stabilization measures that preserved the historic landmark. On February 27, 1971, the Mildred House Clinic in Arnhem, Netherlands, became the first facility in the country to perform artificially induced abortions. This development marked a significant step in reproductive health services in the Netherlands, contributing to ongoing debates and eventual legalization of abortion in the country. In late February 1988, a violent pogrom targeting the Armenian community occurred in the city of Sumgait, Azerbaijan. Over the course of 3 days, Armenian residents were subjected to attacks, resulting in numerous deaths, injuries, and displacement. The Sumgait pogrom exacerbated ethnic tensions between Armenians and Azerbaijanis and was a precursor to the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. On February 27, 1991, U.S. President George H.W. Bush announced that Kuwait had been liberated from Iraqi occupation, marking a decisive victory for the coalition forces in the Gulf War. The announcement came after a swift military campaign that successfully expelled Iraqi forces from Kuwait, leading to the end of the conflict. On February 27, 2004, Super Ferry 14 was bombed by the terrorist group Abu Sayyaf, resulting in an explosion and subsequent fire that caused the deaths of over 100 passengers. This attack is considered the deadliest terrorist incident in the Philippines' history and highlighted the ongoing challenges of terrorism in the region. On February 27, 2004, Shoko Asahara, the leader of the Japanese doomsday cult Aum Shinrikyo, was sentenced to death for his role in orchestrating the 1995 Tokyo subway sarin attack and other crimes. The sentencing concluded a lengthy trial and brought closure to one of Japan's most notorious criminal cases. On February 27, 2007, the Shanghai Stock Exchange experienced a significant decline, with the composite index falling 9%, marking the largest daily drop in a decade. The downturn was attributed to investor concerns over potential government crackdowns on illegal share offerings and trading, as well as fears of accelerating inflation. The event had ripple effects on global markets, underscoring China's growing influence on the world economy.